Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Every Day's a Train Wreck. This is your host, Marley Major, and I am super excited today to be interviewing, once again, my publicist, Diane White from Diane White PR. And I just had to have her on this morning because we are going to talk about all things White Lotus and marketing your own business, and you jump on the White Lotus trend. But what if men are your audience and they have nothing to do with White Lotus and I've never heard of it? What do you do for your business, and how do you jump on these trends or not? So Diane, welcome to the show, and tell us a little bit about you and your company and your background.
My company, and I've actually am in the process of rebranding it to DWPR Strategy, but my background is news. I was in the news side of it for over 15 years, and I have had a PR company of my own since 2010, done marketing and PR for a few other brands in the middle of all of that, or before that. So kind of have both sides of it. And majority of what I do these days is consulting, coaching, media events like the one that we do in New York every summer. So I work really hard to maintain my connections and contacts with people on the national realm, but also regionally and in different markets. Like it might be LA if I'm pitching stuff for you. I have another client in Philadelphia. So things like that. And it's really the media relations side of it and the pitching. It's finding out, what is your story? What are you trying to achieve by getting media coverage, whether it's online, on TV, on a podcast, and then tailoring it and finding that gem of a story. And sometimes, as you mentioned, it's riffing off of a trend that everyone's talking about, such as White Lotus. I mean, right now, obviously, White Lotus, the finale just happened. It'll still be big news for the next couple of weeks. But I think if you weren't able to jump on the White Lotus trend, or maybe you feel like it's too late.
So we're not going to give any spoiler alerts because I didn't watch the finale
no spoiler
yet.
alerts.
So,
but if you weren't able to jump on that trend, then what can you learn from it? How do you figure out the next big trend or trends that you should jump off of, if that makes sense? So, and if you even want to broaden it more, I think this is the perfect time, as we've seen with the news and news cycle and how people are getting and consuming their news right now. There's been a huge uptick in these independent news groups and people getting regardless of what side, a lot of them really truly independent, that are doing quick snippets of news on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook because people don't want to be overwhelmed by news. So what can you learn from that? Giving quick snippets of information about your brand, making it quick and easy and fun and engaging for people to find and shareable. So I think that's one trend. And then we're seeing the escapism television, escapism experiences that people are craving right now as well, because things are a little chaotic out there.
Yeah, to say the least.
To the least, yes.
So, okay, so let's talk about this a little bit, because one of the things I get so many times is, oh, well, like, I live in a small town. How am I going to get a celebrity client, or how am I going to get? And I think that sort of misses the point, right? Because yes, we've done really well with our celebrity clients and the publicity around them, etc. But I don't think you have to have that, especially these days.
No.
But people get super attracted to, like, hey, this whole thing, like, what if I could get one of those White Lotus characters as my client? What if I could? And I think the key is sort of like riffing off of that, and maybe in your social media commenting on the White Lotus so that you're like getting noticed, right? You're staying relevant, whatever your business is. So maybe if you're in the cupcake business, you make a White Lotus version of the cupcake or something like that, or whatever is going to be, kind of the next show as soon as it starts to turn out to be hot. Or like we were talking about before, what if your target audience is men? And, the NBA or Barstool Sports, I mean, Dave Portnoy is in the news constantly these days, it seems.
Yep.
And so there are so many ways that you can piggyback off of what's happening right now so that you kind of are in the mix, seen as somebody who's relevant, but then you can, as you're saying, take those little snippets and create news stories or comments, right? That then you can use to get press. So,
And it's all about storytelling, telling a
right.
good story. And you mentioned that you don't need to have a White Lotus cast member as a client or even promoting your product or service to get noticed.
Right.
You can riff off of it. And I'll give you an example. There's a woman and she's like a marketing coach person and she's not based in my town. And she popped up on my Instagram feed because I follow White Lotus because I watch it every week. So, the algorithm.
Right.
And she did it was one of her clients is a bookstore. What book I would recommend for each White Lotus character. Brilliant.
Wow.
I clicked on that. I read everyone. I sent it to my daughter and her roommate. I sent it to my husband. I sent it to a group chat I'm on that everyone's watching White Lotus. So I'm one person that literally just sent it out to 20 more people. And I mean, I'm sure
no, wait, I know she's not in your town, but you know her or you don't?
I don't know where it popped up in as a sponsored content, but because it caught my eye, I could see it was sponsored. Doesn't matter if it's something engaging. And I was like, oh, this is cute. I mean, again, we all know that goes back to like the digital marketing and the keywords. I love books. I follow several bookstores. I love White Lotus. So I'm going to show up in her people that she's, her keywords.
See, and that's, to me, that is genius. Okay. Yeah. Because that is, let's face it, she could be a bookstore of 5 people as long as, of 5 books practically. As long as, I'm exaggerating, but she could be a tiny bookstore in a tiny town as long as she ships, right? And
exactly. If you're a clothing store, okay, do you look at what were the most iconic outfits on there and have a White Lotus inspired section. You have to be careful, obviously, with licensing, but you can sure put, inspired by White Lotus. Right. As long as you aren't using their exact trademarked brand, you're totally fine. You know, obviously, I'm not an attorney, so you would need to check on those things. Right. But, or we've put together, if you're a stylist, in fact, I have a friend here that we help each other out, and she's does closet edits and style. And I was like, you should do something like based on, it doesn't even have to just be White Lotus. You can broaden it. Like, what are the 5 most popular? Her audience is 30 and 40 something women. I mean, she works with all ages, but that's her core. Right. The busy moms, that want help. Yeah. And, what are their favorite shows? Okay. I want a White Lotus look, or, I'm trying to think what else is big.
Well, it could be like in the beginning, like you're traveling to the White Lotus resort where they all kind of looked a little bit bedraggled, right? Or you are showing up, you're showing up to watch the White Lotus finale. I mean, you could just keep riffing and riffing, but going back to that bookstore idea, which I think is genius. I should have her on. Is because it's not like she's I'm carrying books about the background of the White Lotus. No, she's just taking something that's in the news. She's catching people's attention, and she's put some thought into it, and that's a great way of just adapting whatever's going on to your business. So let's go back to the whole stylist thing, and let's say you are your target audience is women who love sports and who are sporty and that kind of thing. I mean, you could do something, whether it's for the NBA or whether it's for, I don't know, whatever's coming up, what you would wear to XYZ event, and 3 cute outfits.
US Open was a big one for that because a lot of celebrities, the Masters is coming up. I mean, you have to, and that's where, like, let's zoom out a little bit really quick, Marley. The biggest thing, and this is something I am working on getting even better at, and that is zooming out and looking at, and you and I have had this in our conversations, what's happening. It's April 7th. What's happening between now and the end of the year? And you can do big picture, like here's what's happening each month. Then you drill it down for the second quarter, which is what we just started. But, the Masters is in April. The NFL draft is in April. And even people like sports, even people who aren't true sports fans, some of these events, like we just did the March Madness story. Some of these events attract non-sports fans.
Absolutely.
So you've got the Derby coming up. You have Mother's Day, Father's Day, just really looking at what's coming up. All right, what is my audience going to be interested in, my target audience? And then what's happening in popular culture that I can marry those things all together.
I love that. And you brought up a great idea about the Masters. So for example, the Masters, I mean, I play golf, but I don't necessarily watch golf. I'm a little challenged watching it because I think it can be a little slow, but
it's fun to watch in person. But I agree.
Totally different. But one of the things, like even though like you're my publicist and we haven't talked about the masters, but you just gave me a great idea, because I just read an article about how I guess the masters menu pricing for the most part hasn't changed, right?
Yeah.
So it's like they have these certain things, these certain sandwiches and these certain whatever it is, drinks. And, some of them went up like maybe 50 cents or something this year, but the prices are a joke. So it's fun because I could do something like, how much does it cost to make the tuna salad at the Masters or whatever, right? Like they're selling it for $2, which or something absolutely ridiculous and a really low price. And it could be like, listen, I just made it. And by the way, it costs $2.50 kind of thing. But I thought it was really interesting that they got press around doing something totally opposite, right? Like everybody's talking about how the prices are going up, So why not do something that attracts attention? Like meaning basically the prices have stayed the same and they're like not maybe gone down, but they're ridiculously low. So that's something I could riff off of, and a fashion person could riff off, like what to wear to the Masters,
It's funny because I've been looking over the pitches and stuff we've been putting together for you. And with everything that's happened this last week with tariffs and the stock market, I'm like kind of reordering them. And like one of them we talked about was a swap party. Bring the clothes or the accessories or the decor that you no longer use, and you all bring it and you shop each other's stuff. It's a party. There's no cost involved. You got new things, and it plays right into what's happening in the economy, plays into Earth Day. And even like the other idea that just came to me as we're talking about pop culture, Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Dress as your favorite Netflix mom. Dress as your favorite nostalgia mom.
Yeah, love that.
Come because people love a theme party.
Yeah.
Do you want to say you can either do nostalgia or Netflix? You can be freaking Victoria from White Lotus and wear a muumuu and talk funny, or you could be Carol Brady, or you could be Shirley Partridge, or
I love that. And so here's the thing: you could do a girls' get together the Friday night before Mother's Day. I mean, I always say Mother's Day to me is a very stressful day, having 3 kids, but that are getting older now, thank goodness. So they're not fighting like cats and dogs. But I'm telling you, I feel like every Mother's Day, I was just ready to just freaking, oh my. Yeah. But what a great idea to have everybody together, like on a Friday night for drinks or something, or even a Saturday brunch for drinks. Yeah. And here's the cool thing too, is if you're a small business, you could host something like that, right? You could say for everybody that comes into the store that day,
a
shopping event, something like that, for everybody that comes in that day and whatever, and you get some kind of Mother's Day thing, which I think is what it's all about, is something that, we talk about all the time. We talk about in PR, the hook, right? Like what's the hook? How do you kind of take the hook and build the story? And when I heard about, oh my gosh, everybody's freaking out about the, buying a new car and this and that. And I was thinking, well, the easiest way around that is you buy a used car. And everybody has like this bad idea of like a used car. Well, I always buy used cars. That's
I do too.
I mean, I buy a luxury car 6 months after. And so it's still a luxury car. It's got like 5,000 miles on it. Somebody bought it, turned it in, but we all know that the value is shot once it's driven off the lot. Yeah. So that's a very easy way. So I love your idea about kind of repurposing these or reordering these pitches of ours and doing the swap party, because guess what? You don't have to worry about tariffs if something has already been, for the most part, for something that's already been purchased. Right. And it's kind of on the secondhand market, or you're just swapping it, which I think is a really great
let me
idea.
kind of touch on that, because it's a challenging time to do PR right now. Yeah. And I feel like because everyone in the media, it's like their head's on a swivel.
Right.
And the few people that I've been able to really have, like the producer at GMA, I mean, there's several ideas, including some from you. And she's like, I'm going to be honest with you. Every day is just like, oh my God, what are we looking at?
Right.
And she said, and any lifestyle segments we do are sometimes last minute. So we don't even have an expert come in, we just pull one of our reporters, and she's like, but stay in touch, keep up, because something will gel. And I'm hearing that from a lot of them. So I do think it is kind of, if you want to pitch off what's happening in the news with the stock market, do it without potentially offending somebody. I mean, I think the majority of people are in shock and not liking what's happening in the stock market, but you can do it without mentioning your stance on a candidate or a political party.
I think you can just I
have a client, as just between friends, and the way we're wording it is, it's a time of economic uncertainty.
Right.
Nobody will dispute that.
Yes.
Regardless of what your view is on tariffs or what's happening. So it's a matter of finding, and JBF is a place that is all over the country.
Yes.
Blue states, red states, purple states, everywhere.
Yeah.
So we have to be fairly milquetoast.
You got to keep politics. Right. Well, but that's what a lot of brands are also learning is that, I mean, everything goes in cycles, including. So there was a time when it was like, put your political stance out there. Now it's like people are walking their political stance back.
And if you do want to put your stance out there,
please do.
Put your stake in it. And that's your stake in the ground. And there's your market.
Correct.
And, that will work for you. And I think there are brands that are doing that and doing that well.
No question.
I mean, like Dave Courtney, Barstool.
Yeah.
He's got a big enough following. And let's face it, his biggest audience are college frat boys, and they don't really care.
Right.
So he can go on the air and and I actually think he has increased his audience. I never followed him before. I followed Barstool for my school, and that's it. But when he starts speaking out and speaking his mind about a candidate that he endorsed, then that makes me interested in whether I agree with him or not, makes me interested in hearing what he has to say. And I think there's a lot of people that are moderate and out there that are like, that are now following him and at least knowing his story. And, another one who is brilliant is Alex. What is her last name? Call Her Daddy.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. She's genius at this.
And I have noticed, because I never really listened to her. She's one of Jameson's favorites. My daughter's 22. But she has started, she had a thing last week. She's had Lauren Graham on. She's had Ellen Pompeo on. I'm listening. Those are people I love. Yeah. I watch Grey's Anatomy. I watch Gilmore Girls.
Right.
Those women are my age. I want to hear what they have to say. But then at the same time, my daughter's like, oh my gosh, did you listen to her interview with, she calls her Meredith Grey, but
Right.
So I think that is also this might be a time to maybe go left or go not left politically, but take a turn on a sub audience or broadening it. Like we talked about the Mother's Day. And I feel like I know we're kind of going on a traffic circle, but make it a mother-daughter event if you have a store.
Right.
We were at a winery in Northern California, not Napa, but in the Delta near Sacramento. Mm-hmm. Beautiful winery. And all my friends are in their 50s. We're all there. Loved it. And you could see there was, we were there near the end of the day. I mean, beautiful. It's been around since the mid 1800s. Marley, you would love this place. It's called Miner's Leap. The owner comes over because he has cats everywhere. And one of my friends is a total cat lady. So we're patting the cat and he starts talking to us. Really handsome guy, early 60s. His great grandfather founded it. Kept it open during Prohibition. Cool. Great story. And he's like, we're asking him about it. Are you just busier than ever with everything going on? He's like, wine sales have dropped 20%. I said, is it because the Gen Zs are drinking all the canned drinks? He's like, yes. So, I mean, the marketing person, I go, you need to do this, 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 and this. I go, have a mother-daughter, because Allie's there, who's 27. She starts giving him her feedback. And she's like, do a young professionals night, do a 20-something theme, do a riff off what, and you could tell his wheels were finally turning. I said, hire somebody who's in their 20s to early 30s.
Exactly.
As a marketing, and he's a lawyer part-time, but he wants to leave his practice and retire just doing this.
Yeah.
I said, you need to make it an experience for them and they'll start enjoying wines. I said, have a wine night, all bottles $15 or less.
Or wine night for dummies, and just totally target all the young people.
But those people want an experience. And so I asked Jameson, her roommate, we would totally go to something like that. They do the canned drinks because they're inexpensive. They taste good and they're fun and they're easy.
Exactly. Well, my first thing is dude, can't the guy just get some, a canner and start just canning them so he could have wine that opens like a can of Campbell's soup? But that's probably would defeat the purpose.
I guess that's the thing is that you do need to think. But when I mentioned the mother-daughter night, and he said, because Pam, my friend Pam and Allie, who are 34 years apart in age, are like, we would come to that.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
And they're the audience. I mean, Pam buys wine all the time and Allie drinks it, but she's like, I drink it because I'm around it. She's like, so if you do this, and she goes and aim for the young girls in their 20s to early 30s because they're going to have some money working,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And the other thing too, along that trend with the wine is that doesn't have to be what the 25-year-old girl, is primarily going to drink. But let's face it, if she's on a work trajectory where she's going to be going out with her boss, whatever, who's 50 or 60 or 70 years old, she's got to know something, right? I mean, she has to kind of know what is Sauvignon Blanc versus Chardonnay versus Merlot versus, I mean, you've got to have your basics, right?
Yeah.
So his could be, you know, a crash course about, you know, like I go back to, you know, Wine for Dummies, and apologies if that is patent protected.
No. I mean, that was the big trend, in the 90s, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so there are always ways. And I want to go back to your point too about the marketing and stepping back and thinking big picture. So whether somebody listens to this in a timely manner, you know, close to when we're taping it, or they listen to it, you know, 2 years from now, I think one of the cool things is really stepping back and doing that content calendar, and ideally for a year, but even if you can just do it for the next quarter. But I know when I think of it for the year, and you don't have to wait to January to do it, but let's say that I'm going to do it now, and I'm going to say, fine, I'm going to start, my year's going to be May to May. But an easy place, at least for me to start, and I'd love your take on this, is to start with even like weird holidays on the calendar. You know, first start with holidays on the calendar that potentially you could cover, and kind of populate that, even if it's just like on a Google calendar or big handwritten calendar, if that helps you. And then start getting a little bit more granular as far as like, oh, okay, now we know the holidays, but like what's happening in sports, what's happening in, or if your target audience is into fashion, or your target audience is, you know, college girls, like when is Rush? When is all those different things, and then sort of back into it. Because the one thing is the media needs a little bit of time, that the time windows have shortened definitely to pitch them. But you don't want to, if it's like, if your target audience is, you know, girls who are going to rush, you don't want to, oh, it's rush week, like now you're going to post your content, right? You want to do it a little bit ahead of time.
Yeah, you always have to kind of backtrack. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's where a content calendar really helps, is that you can sort of backtrack and plan. So we take into consideration regular holidays, and we take into consideration kind of the fun ones. And I think we take into consideration what's happening, like, you know, sports, fashion, whatever your audience is. But what are some of the other things that you can take into consideration? Or do you just sort of leave some day, kind of weeks, have little pocket floaters to insert trending things that, like tariffs?
When I was doing group coaching, we would create media plan templates, and we would drill all that down, and we would divide it by, you know, obvious things like Black Friday, Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And then we would have those special days. But you mentioned that, like National Donut Day. Here's one of the next steps to take on that. Let's say you get a list of like 15 of them. Google them really quickly and click on news. Are a lot of morning shows and stations covering National Pizza Day, National Donut Day, then you know that's something that's already on their radar, and it's a little bit more of the low-hanging fruit when you're pitching it.
Terrific
If it's something
idea.
And then you get that idea. And then we would have a section of what's happening in the news, depending on, for example, I think you interview Michelle Bias.
Yeah.
She comes to my Me event, and she's done some of my coaching. And I mean, right now, are you kidding? Therapists are working on overdrive.
Right.
Everybody, whether it's dealing with conflict in the family, or depressed, or worried about the future, or how do I manage all this chaos in the news, and just everything. I mean, I've been working with her on here's how you pitch yourself.
Yeah.
But making sure it comes back to her practice.
Yes.
You know, and she's not a typical therapist. And she also does a lot of workshops. I'm like, okay, then maybe you have like we've done with you, have a freebie.
Yeah.
You know,
or you have a pop-up workshop where she does a live stream about, hey, listen, I'm doing a thing right now. Everybody's stressed out. Like, invite all your friends, have a glass of wine or a mocktail, and let's just all like get together and be like, how do you feel about this? Or here's some trends to cope. Or here's some, I'm making this up. Here's some trends to cope when you're on two different political sides, and you know you're going to see your sister-in-law for the dad's birthday, and she likes this and you like this, and how, you know, how do you deal? I mean, I think just us talking, I'm thinking you should pitch the news again for me, which we've been really successful with on that whole etiquette thing, right? Of like, you know, when it's an election time or something, how to deal with like these kind of hot topics and stuff like that. So maybe pitch that as the Mother's Day angle. Instead of other stuff, is say, how do you get together for Mother's Day with all this, with, tariffs and this, and just totally about to wreak havoc on your social plans? Because I think it's just important for everybody to be mindful, because it's so easy to get triggered. And I think just kind of one extra, hey, don't forget to consider that you maybe just have rules ahead of time as far as so that, because at the end of the day, the mom.
And that can be broadened for we've done it for blended families, but also, do you want to set social media rules? Do you want to set phone rules?
Right.
You know, are we posting on social media? I mean, I've gone to parties where we've had get-togethers, you know how it is.
Yeah.
We have a big group of girls that goes out a lot. But sometimes you just want 2 or 3. It's like no posting.
Right.
Because we don't want Susie to see that we didn't invite her, because sometimes you just want to talk to those 2 people. And it's, and I know I've been on the other end and I'm totally fine. Like, yes, everybody needs, but you have to kind of set those guidelines. And I know we've talked about the phone-free events, which is another one that I'm getting
hugely trending right now too. Yeah. Hugely.
And you're seeing it more and more at shows and events.
Yeah.
Like we went to the Garth Brooks concert in Vegas, no phones. And I have to tell you, you can, if you need your phone, you can go out and get it, and they put it in a little Dropbox. You can, like, if there's an emergency, you can open it.
Yeah.
They had a picture wall out front where you could take your pictures with your friends.
Yeah.
They had a professional photographer taking pictures of Garth and a few videos. You could access them for free if you came to the show.
I love that.
So and it was so nice to watch a 3-hour concert without someone in front of me holding their phone out.
I hadn't heard about that. So that I love.
His Caesar's Palace experience, no phone. And I've seen that. I mean, obviously the more up and coming artists want people to put them online.
Of course. It's different. But that target audience is sick of phones.
Yeah. We went to the taping of The Daily Show not too long ago, the night that John was there. And you can take pictures and selfies when you get in the studio.
Yeah.
It was interesting. You cannot stand up. You have to stay in your seat.
Wow.
So we're like, so they're getting it. They're paying, and the guys, security guards would take your picture. But the minute the opening act comes out, it goes in.
Yep.
It goes away. Now, they don't give us the bags. And they have like big Guido looking dudes.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
Like if your phone comes out, you're gone.
Yeah.
We pause taping because it's not a live show.
Yeah.
We pause taping, you're gone. Now, nobody had to leave. And there was one blind, like legally blind man there. And the security guard kept his phone. He's like, he needed it. He was getting a text when his ride was ready. So they will make exceptions and help somebody if they've got an issue. They're really nice. Yeah. But it was, again, and I don't blame them. It's a tape show. They don't want behind the scenes stuff getting online.
No, completely. I love it. Well, I think this was just a great snippet. That was the goal of today, was just to do a snippet on, hey, what's trending? Have a chat. How do you capitalize on it?
Yeah.
And what can you do if you're in business or you think about being in business, or you're just kind of posting on social media for fun? Yeah. How can you riff off some of these trends? So Diane,
and to just kind of wrap it up, I would say like your couple key takeaways would be create a content calendar, and and that can look however you want it to look for you, which is so funny because I'm like, all right, I'm going to text one of my interns to get mine updated for me.
Right. It's a good,
what are you going to do this quarter? And don't overthink it, but what's going to work for you?
Right.
And then second is in terms of media outlets and pitches, I always say, zero in on the 3 to 5, whether it's a podcast you want to get on, an influencer you want to collaborate with you, a morning show. Don't, it's good to do the broad, mass send outs because you never know what can come from that. But if your time is limited, really target like what show or podcast or influencer or website is going to move the needle on my business. Right. That's what I'm going to focus my pitching time on for now. And then you can broaden it if you don't get something from that. I
love it. Well, Diane, tell everybody where they can find you.
You can go to my website, but I'm in the process of redoing my website, and the new one hopefully will be up by the end of June. But the best thing is probably follow me on Instagram. It's Diane White PR, or text me, and I'm on Facebook, Diane White PR. It might be under DWPR strategy, but I think you can find it with either one. And text to me is the best way, 918-770-3905. But my new website will be dwprstrategy.com. It's just not up yet.
Okay. I apologize if anybody stalks you and texts you. All right.
Message Marley and she can connect.
Yeah, exactly. Message me. Okay. Well, thank you, Diane, so much for being on the show. And if you're not following me on Instagram, go to @thepartygoddess. And I want to thank you for listening to another episode of Every Day's a Train Wreck. And if you haven't already followed the show, subscribed, liked, commented, please do. And we will see you next week. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Marley.
Bye-bye.
Bye.